Okay, so it went like this. I was always trying to get away from my family, but I didn't always exactly know why. I just knew that when I was an adult, I really needed to go experience my own life. I figured it was mostly because of how sheltered I had always been. And then I started to question if it was just like the Christianity in of itself, the way that it had been portrayed to me. So as soon as I got out of my parents' house, I kind of changed my entire lifestyle and was trying to get away from all of that stuff. I started studying science. It's like my mind blown about all the things I didn't know before then. So I just kept getting more and more into it. And I started learning about quantum theory, which is incredible. Then I had to learn more math just to even be able to understand it. And it was a whole time. It's a wild time. Got separated. I separated from my ex-husband in 2014, the beginning of 2014. And by the end of 2014, I was already gone again. So after we separated, I had moved into my car for the first time. I basically just left everything that we had as far as furniture and stuff like that to him. And I just took what I could fit in my car, and I moved into my car with my dog. And when my parents found that out, they basically insisted that I come back to their house. At that point, I didn't have any defenses against that, so I did. Even though I never felt like I wanted to, and it always felt like a point of anxiety. But I hadn't addressed that yet, so I didn't really know what to make of it. I don't know. I left a couple more times, went back a couple more times. It was always really bad whenever I'd come back, mentally. I just don't even know how to begin to get into this shit, but I always had issues with my family. They sheltered me from having relationships with other people too. So I struggled with other relationships too, but I also always struggled with my relationships with them. And largely just because I never felt treated like my own person. I didn't even know until I was in my 20s that I had my own identity. And when I came upon that realization and was suddenly responsible for it, I just struggled. I was a grown-ass adult that was so incredibly stunted. And I, was expected to meet a standard that I didn't feel that I could. I didn't feel fit for. It took a really long time and a lot of really hard work for me to just learn the basics of being a fucking human being. Things that I should have been taught while I was growing up, but instead I was taught what other people believed, and like how to memorize the Bible and stuff, which like is great, but not as practical as some other things, you know. I don't know. Everything's worked out to its own benefit in my life, largely in part because of the ways that I've chosen to reassess, reevaluate, and reprioritize and, you know, pull from it and work out those energies. Sorry, I'm tired. It was a cooler day today, which is nice. Still got up to like 103, but it was cool most of the day in comparison. But yeah, I don't know. When I lived in Baltimore, that was a weird time. That was a weird time. And then I lived back in Kenosha area, and I don't know. I just moved all around. Just trying to find somewhere to feel comfortable, somewhere to feel like I could settle down. I just didn't feel settled anywhere. I didn't feel home anywhere. I didn't feel safe anywhere. That was the biggest part, was like I could feel safe for an extended period of time certain places, and then inevitably something would happen that would just start making me feel unsafe, usually revolving around, you know, whatever men are involved, especially ones that I'm not particularly sexually involved with. Because normally I can handle my own with my close intimate relationships, but I struggle a lot more with like casual relationships because I just don't give a fuck. I either give too many fucks or I don't give enough. The point that I was trying to get at was mostly like, I've always struggled with money because I've never had it. Always had to work. My parents had me start working when I was 14, and the summer before I turned 15, I worked at McDonald's, and I worked 40-hour weeks because they let me. My parents were kind of like, you know, as much as they'll let you, you might as well. And I wanted to because I wanted the money. The whole idea was that once I had started working, I didn't have like specific bills to pay for necessarily, so all of that money would be mine, which was great. And then I was like made to get a cell phone, which was very new. I was one of the first to have, not one of the first, I guess most of my friends had cell phones, but it's also because they were rich. You know, I was one of the first of my other not as rich friends that got a cell phone. And that was because I had to have one in order to work, because I was going to be, you know, where the fuck ever. And my parents want to be able to contact me. Then once I got my license, yeah, that's when I had to get a phone. So once I got a license, right around the same time though, 15, 16, you know. And I just don't even know how to go about this shit. So, like, I didn't know about taxes until I was fucking, like, 18. So what my parents always said was that that's just how it worked. Once I was 18, then I would have to start filing my taxes. And I remember having my boss help me do it. I'd already been working there for 2.5 years, you know, and when we went to start filling them out, she was like, wait, haven't you already done this multiple times? Like, you've been here for a minute. And I was like, no, my parents always did it. And she was like, oh, so, like, you never, like, have seen your return? And I was like, I don't understand. And she had to explain what a tax return was to me. And it's at that point that I realized that my parents had always filed my taxes for work. So they'd always gotten my tax returns. I didn't know that that was even a thing. But they had always given me the money that I made outright. My paychecks were always mine, so I never questioned it. And when I realized that, then I kind of started to go back and analyze other financial issues in my life that I've had revolving around my parents, how, you know, my real dad died when I was born, and my mom put his life insurance policy into thirds and put them into CD accounts for my brothers and I, so that when we went to college, turned 18 and went to college, we would have a little money for college, right? But I was like behind in high school because I just fucked off. So by the time I turned 18, I was still in high school, and my parents were going bankrupt. My dad had his own business, but it was going bankrupt, and they were about to lose the house. They wanted to refinance the house and needed to pay for the refinancing, and asked me if they could borrow, the money that was supposed to go to my college to get them out of bankruptcy, or to keep them from having to claim bankruptcy. And that once they refinanced the house, they would be able to pay me back the lump sum, was the agreement. So they took the money, but then they still ended up going bankrupt. So they weren't able to pay me the lump sum back. They ended up paying me back over the course of 10 years. And that's another story, because it just didn't seem to add up, but I just don't even care. At that point, they kept using the payments that they were giving me against me, because I didn't want a relationship with them for multiple different reasons I won't get into right now. And they were just kind of holding it against me, where they were like, no, we really want to pay you back, and like it's important to us that we pay you back, so that we didn't just take that money from you, but at the same time, like, you have to come pick it up, like, you're gonna have to come see us, or we're gonna have to come see you in order to get this check to you. Like, I don't know, it was just a time, and it was just like energy I wasn't trying to spend when it came to them. I was trying to get separated from them for a long time anyways, just because of so much that I dealt with growing up, that it felt like I couldn't actively process while I was still having active relationships with them, which, like, maybe it's not just because I'm fucking crazy, but like, even if it were just because I was crazy, if I'm trying to handle that by just like spending my own time trying to figure myself out, I really don't see what the fuck is so wrong about that. But I digress. So I never felt like I had any sort of support from them, so I always just kind of had to take care of myself. I got 2 jobs and 3 jobs multiple times just to pay the month to month whatever it was that I had to pay for. I've never had like savings or anything like that. Never been the best with money to begin with. I've tended to splurge a lot on fucking fast food, which is why I look the way that I look. Like this is what I look like. But I really haven't I've learned how to live basically without money. I just go long bouts without eating, or I'll work, a real job, and shower and clean myself as much as possible so that I can keep up with it and make real money so that I can then spend it, on gas, just so that I can make sure that I can live out of my car while I'm, not eating for weeks. I mean, I've done whatever I've needed to do to survive without, getting on hard drugs or being a prostitute or fucking, like, committing crimes. You know, I haven't been, like, gone stealing shit or anything like that. Like, I've tried to maintain myself as much as possible, and I'm proud of myself. I've done my fucking best. I've done well. Really, really. All things considered, I mean, Jesus, like, the shit I get offered on a regular basis just for being who I am is wild. I'm just like, nah, that's cool. You can do what you do. Just pay attention to the energy, and if it starts getting a little too weird, I'm gonna fucking leave. But yeah, so like, I lived in Wisconsin last year. At the beginning of the year, I was doing hospice care. My client passed away, and I started living at this renovated bed and breakfast where I started doing live-in home care, and also got a job doing landscaping in order to pay the bills. Now, the live-in caregiving part subsidized the rent a bit, technically. But the landscaping job was actually, like, making me money. And I was hoping to be able to even start saving money with that job. However, I got injured doing caregiving at the house, and the way that my client handled it seemed inappropriate to me. So then I expressed myself about that, which kind of left like a weird bitterness between us. And then a week after I couldn't work, I got to the point where I was like, I can't take care of you if I can't take care of myself. I really need to do something else if there's anything I can do that, you know, isn't specifically this caregiving, but so that I can still afford the room. You know, I want to get back to landscaping. I just don't want to do caregiving anymore. And she was very, you know, she just didn't want me staying at the house if I wasn't going to be her caregiver, which is understandable. So at the same time, I had already been talking to this dude who I dated back when I was 19 for a very short time. I was talking to him for like months at this point, you know, like 6 months or more at this point. And he's very adamant about us being in a relationship. I'm very adamant about us taking it slow, but figure, well, if I'm already going to have to leave this house, which means, you know, again, I try to look for places, but it's just practically impossible to find a place to rent in 30 days in Wisconsin, in that part of Wisconsin, when you have 2 dogs. It's just how it is. You need at least 3 months in advance. So I always end up back in my car, you know, with the 30-day notices, and it's just like, whatever, I just end up back in my car. So I was like, if I'm gonna end up back in my car, I might as well, you know, try somewhere else. I figured since I was already talking to that dude that I would move closer down by him, and that way, you know, we could slowly start to try to make it work. But within the matter of being there for a week, he was just like fucking trying to be way too serious with me. And then I started getting stalked at work. I had to go out like into these neighborhoods and get signatures. And yeah, I got followed home 3 times, and that made me wildly uncomfortable. And then, like, the house wasn't actually what I thought it was going to be. It was the same house, but instead of fucking just me and one other person living there, it was actually me and 4 other adults, and then an infant, and then a dog and a cat. And there wasn't the shower broke like the second week, and there wasn't air for like the entire time that I was there, and he never cleaned the pool, so never got to use the pool. It was just like not worth it. So I didn't re-sign anything for that house or pay for anything more with that house. I ended up just leaving after the 30 days, and at that point it was like, well, I didn't want to come down here to begin with. I might as well go to fucking Texas while I'm down here, since I never wanted to go there either. Just get it out of the way. And then I was like, well, yeah, I guess, that actually makes sense. I had done all that networking years, I'd done networking for a couple years with people in LA before they moved to Austin. So I was like, oh, well, they all moved to Austin. I might as well go make the most. And so I did. I moved to Austin in Thanksgiving of last year, and it was immediately fucking awesome. No complaints. It was incredible. It was incredible. I was happy with the way everything was going. I was already getting fucked over, but even then I still like maintained pretty alright spirits about shit. The living conditions I was under, the person I was living with, just really fucked with my shit. At the same time, I met the dude that I dated all this year through that situation, so I would consider that a win, but the situation in of itself really wrecked me. Sorry, hold on. I'm so uncomfortable. But yeah, so around December, I think it was, I didn't get the message for a while because my phone was off and I had a different phone. But I think it was in December that my grandma passed away. I received a call from my grandma's phone, and it was my mom telling me that my grandma had passed away. She called from my dead grandmother's phone because I had been estranged from her for so long that I had her number blocked. And she didn't know how else to get a hold of me in a way that I would actually listen or respond. But she told me that I had an inheritance from my grandma and that I needed to sign off on it. And it just, even when I listened to the message, I listened to it late, like much later than when I got it. But it just seems kind of sketch. I don't know. I didn't like it. And I remember my initial response being like, they're on some bullshit and I'm not trying to fuck with it. I literally don't care how much whatever there is. It's not worth it. Is how I felt. However, I got advised through somebody who I just stopped being friends with because I just didn't like the advice they continued to give. It was always based on money, and it never steered me properly. But they convinced me to reconnect with my family about the inheritance and to get the money and to try to sort things out with them accordingly. And I don't know, that just turned into some bullshit in of itself. So my mom told me that my grandma left me $2,000, but that since I wasn't there to sign for it, they had to sign for it, which isn't how it works. And then they had to put all of my inheritance in my mom's bank account, which is just weird, just like, I guess, because I was estranged from the family, so, know, the law don't know shit. But yeah, so she said that she would just send it to me directly, which is great, because at the time I just needed the money. Then she was like, she basically just said like, I mean, it wasn't hard. I was at the lowest point that I feel like I'd ever been at the time, and I'd never reached that low before. I'd done a lot of things to avoid hitting that low in the past and had successfully evaded it, even though I'd done some fucked up shit too in order to. But I remember using the word defeated, that I felt defeated, and I had never felt that way before, or used that word to describe myself that way before, and I didn't like that. But that defeated feeling made me feel like it didn't even matter, and that I might as well just go back to my family, even if I actively believed that they were like stealing from me. Or even if, you know, at the very best, that I still felt like regardless I was going to have to kind of defend myself and my feelings against all the rest of them, because they all stand together about shit. Just because of the religion and stuff, you know, so like, I don't know. I just remember feeling a lot of ways about it. Definitely not wanting to go back there. And then when I did go back there, everything got real fucked up. And my car broke down, and I had to put my dog down. And at that point, there was just so much shit happening, and I was just like, this is all just trying to break me, and I'm not gonna fucking let it. I'm not gonna let it. And I was like, this is all... What's that? What's up?
You got a boyfriend?
Huh?
You got a boyfriend? No. Look at your number.
Nah. My phone ain't on. My service ain't actually on.
Get mine down.
Huh?
Get mine down. Text me.
My service ain't on.
Well, find a way. You got Facebook?
Yeah.
What's your Facebook? Sure.
Alright. Ugh. So shit was fucked up. Sorry. Shit was fucked up. And I was just like, I'm not gonna let this shit defeat me anymore. I already felt defeated. And then when I got around my mom, I was like, oh yeah, she likes when I feel this way, because then she's in control. And then she can, like, I like am needy for her, and she just like, that's when she's at her best. She can like shine when I feel defeated. And I think that's fucking kind of sick. I don't like it. I don't like it. And it just reminded me of that. And I managed to not get in a super low state. And I managed to get out of there. And I kept my dog there because I believed that it was probably the safest place for her, the best place for her. I don't know. I don't know if that's actually true or not. It would just seem, I mean, it was better than fucking taking her on this walk, because I had no idea if I was actually going to be able to make it down here or not, and what I was going to be doing, and I don't know. It seemed like it was just more of a chance that she'd survive being with my family. Yeah, I don't know. By the time that I actually left, I didn't have any money left. So it was just $2,000, and I used that to go get an abortion out of state from from Texas, and then to get up to Wisconsin or to Illinois, and then to go back and forth to Wisconsin to clear out my storage unit. And then I drank a lot of Red Bull and soda and ate a lot of fast food. I have a fucking problem. It's not like I ate like that much. I mean, just, I was there way longer than it seemed like too. I got there fucking March, and then I left July, April, May, June, July, yeah. I was there for a fucking long time. And, shit was just really fucked up. And, yeah. I never saw the will, even though I'd asked about it, and I